Hello and welcome to FXWB New Beginnings podcast with Michelle. Guys, we are getting closer to May 18th. I do hope you're excited as I am because it is looking to be one of the best events the West of Indy is going to have when it comes to bringing people together, bringing ladies together to learn how to gain experiences so that they can live an invigorating life in their 30s, 40s, and 50s without pulling their hairs out. Okay? I think you would, ladies, I really think you should come on board. Join us May 18th. We are going to be at the Courtyard by the Marriott in Plainfield. We are there from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We are going to have a ball. We're going to start with dancing. We must have food. That's my specialty. We're going to have a lot of food, but we're going to also talk, learn, even get a massage. Right? So, and we're going to learn a lot of information on this day in a short space of time. However, when you leave, you're going to leave with information that can help you live better, enhance your well-being for the long run. So welcome again to FXWB New Beginnings podcast with Michelle. Today, we are going to talk to one of our sponsors who came on board. We were talking before, just learning about each other's businesses, and it's just so happened what they do relates so much to what I'm involved in, which is your well-being, enhancing your well-being in different ways so that you can be a healthier person. And not just a healthier individual, but you can be a healthier individual in an environment with others to help others stay healthy through mindset, learning how to use the information that you've learned to be able to help you grow internally as well as externally. So, today we're going to talk with two persons. Yes, two persons. This day, let's see. I would say that even though it's two individuals, they are like one because they have come together out of something that nobody else would think would be a positive thing, but their stories tell you a lot. These two individuals, Mark and Jennifer, they have come together as a family unit as well as business owners owning an organization called IndyBlend. And we will talk a little bit more about IndyBlend, but we want to talk about Mark and Jennifer. Hi, Mark and Jennifer. How are you today?
Hey, Michelle. We're doing
Good.
fine.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on board. We are going to share a little bit about who you guys are so that when we have our guests at the summit on May 18th, they will have an idea who you are and they will be able to dive right into our panel discussion when we meet on May 18th. So share with us a little bit about who is Jennifer and Mark.
Okay. Well, thanks for having us, Michelle.
Yes.
So Mark and I started an organization. It's a ministry for step families called IndyBlended, and it's for families who have either divorced or lost a spouse to death, and then have remarried and they have kids. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to blend your families together because it's like starting a book from the middle instead of the beginning, because each family member has a different beginning. And so we wanted to help other people come together and blend well and not become overwhelmed or discouraged in the process, because it does take time.
Okay, so you said step families.
Yes.
All right. So, Mark, tell me, how did you engage in this business with Jennifer? So I
We
know you're husband and wives, but how did this organization come to being?
Well, this was a ministry area that we found to be a great need in today's culture.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that about 50% of families today in the U.S. are remarried and therefore are considered step families or blended families.
Got it.
And those families, those marriages can be very challenging. In fact, 70% of remarriages fail within the first 3 years
Mm.
because of all the complexity and challenges associated with having children at day one, at the time that
Right.
is born, which is different from the first marriage where you just have the man and wife and you have
Mhm.
time to focus on each other as a couple. So uh, we, having been a remarried couple now for almost 18 years,
Mm.
uh,
Okay.
we have experienced a lot of the ups and downs, challenges, but incredible blessings through our journey as a remarried couple. And as I've looked to the end of my career in the corporate world, I left that in January of last year, 2022.
Okay.
And I wanted to leverage my experiences in leadership, both in a corporate setting as well as in a Christian church area, ministering to men and couples for almost 30 years.
Mm.
And then tag teaming with my wife, Jennifer, who has a unique background of having 2 degrees in pastoral counseling, where she has worked in a local agency for several years as well in personal counseling for couples and for families, including children. So together we make I think, a very effective team in what we bring to the table in our step family workshops.
Great. And you have these workshops where? Where are you all located?
So we are actually can be very mobile. So we're based in Plainfield and have done about 7 workshops total since August of 2022. They've taken place in Brownsburg, Plainfield, and 2023. That's right. Sorry, and they've taken place also outside of the state. So Jennifer and I have gone to Oklahoma City and done a workshop at a church there. I've spoken to step families, specifically stepdads, in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, as well. So we're trying to really focus to get our name out there, because we see this as a big need, and that we can fill a gap that no one else is doing, at least in the Indianapolis area.
Okay. So you said you talked to mainly dads. That's one of your focus for you, for instance, Mark. What has been your response in terms of reaching out to dads, stepdads in families? Has it been a positive one? Shed some light on that for me.
Yeah, definitely. So most men are harder to convince to go to sign up for a workshop. So they have to really see the value of it.
Right.
And we've gotten great feedback from the male participants in our workshop, very positive. And when I pitch the workshop and encourage guys to sign up, I tell them it's worth it. And in fact, for 10 hours of FaceTime in a group setting and with Jennifer and I as presenters and facilitators, it really takes the place of up to 4 months of dedicated therapy focusing on step family dynamics, or years of trial and error. So
Wow.
I really emphasize to guys, this is worth your investment, because you're going to come away with something really practical and useful. During our workshops, we have couples create a customized step family action plan that they take with them after the workshop. So this action plan is a chart really listing SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely goals that they will engage in the weeks and months and years ahead.
Yes.
So participation in the workshop goes beyond just a one-time event, and instead it provides a framework for years of positive impact on their step family.
Yes, that sounds really good to hear, that the men see the importance of doing such a workshop. I know ladies tend to do workshops well, Jennifer. Yes, so you may have it easy to get the ladies to gather around, right? How is it for you? How has the response been for women that are stepmoms? How has it been the response for you when relating to ladies in these workshops?
Well, it's been positive, but some women I just meet one-on-one with. So we'll just have coffee or just meet on a regular basis to see how they're doing. And I also try to follow up with women who have been in the workshops with their husbands and just meet with them one-on-one. But it's surprising that some of the men who come, their wives don't want to come. But most of the women who come, their husbands are willing. It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure why. But I do appreciate and enjoy meeting with the women just one-on-one outside of the workshop as well.
Right. So we could see the difference there already in terms of how to get connected with male or female and learning how they would respond to workshops versus one-on-one. I could see the ladies wanted to be a little more intimate and, don't really want to talk in large groups versus the men. They'll be like, we'll be all right. we can learn in a group. It's probably the same thing,
Yes.
So, and that's great, because now you're learning the dynamics and learning how to connect with them so that you can get the message across. And that's great. So for this dynamics, when you do these workshops, what would be, you said normally you would do like a 10-hour workshop. Is it 10 hours?
Yeah, it's about 10 hours total.
It's Friday night through Saturday. So we do like
a weekend workshop.
Friday, right. It's a weekend workshop. Yeah. And we provide meals. So we provide snacks on Friday, breakfast on Monday, and lunch, or breakfast on Saturday and lunch on Saturday.
Okay.
And that's included in the cost, which is very minimal. And then it's good to have, the more couples we have, the better, because there are 70 different kinds of step families. So when we sit around the table with other couples, the dynamics in each family are very different, whether it be they lost their spouse to death, or they're divorced, or one's divorced, or, they're all very different and very complex, but there are some basic principles and a path forward that applies to all of them, that apply to us too. So.
Right. Because you did mention that you both are stepkids. Well, yes, it turned out to you both have stepkids, and it so happened that how did you all meet?
So going back in time, my first marriage took place in 1990, and then was blessed with 3 children through that marriage. Was married about 13 years, and then got very involved with our church, doing ministry, outreach, and community service. So it was on a Saturday morning that my wife and I split up. She took the kids and was going to meet up with several other families to do some landscaping at a local handicapped lady's house. And I took a group from church down to Martinsville to build a women's shelter. And my wife was just driving on the northwest side of Indianapolis, and lost control of her car and was hit by a truck on broadside. And
oh my gosh,
it was a terrible crash, and she pretty much died instantly at the scene. And then my daughter, who was 10 at the time, also perished in that accident.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And both boys were injured pretty significantly. So it started a journey for me through some real challenging, dark times where I focused on nurturing my sons back to health and really recovering my identity. Who was I? I was no longer a husband and no longer a father to a daughter. So it was a real time of adjustment, obviously, for me. And what I learned from experience when I was a child, my father passed away when I was about 9 years old, and my family did not grieve at all. We didn't talk about my dad after he passed. We didn't process it in a healthy way at all. So then with my situation as an adult, losing my wife and daughter, I was determined to work through it and talk to people. I had a number of men who came alongside me to journey with me, have lunch with me on a regular basis, and just talk through this experience, even though none of them could directly relate to it.
Right.
But they were willing to encourage me as really as a man would encourage another man, iron sharp iron.
Yes.
But the other thing I did is I was very forward about signing up for grief support groups. So I actually registered and took part of 4 different groups. And most of the time, including the one that is most important, it was me and 8 ladies.
Okay.
So,
8 ladies. You were the brave guy.
And that's where I met Jennifer in the last grief support group I signed up for. She was there as well, and I'll let her tell her story.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was 2004 when Mark lost his wife and daughter, and I lost my husband in 2004. His wife had her accident in October, but I lost my husband the previous March, and he died by suicide. Okay. And I had a daughter who was 5 when he passed away. Oh. So then it was February of that following year, 2005, that my friends told me I better go to this grief support group. And if I didn't, they were going to drive me there to make sure I went. So, and they kept my daughter. And so I went, and it was actually Mark and me and another lady around our age, and then about 6 80-year-old women.
Wow.
We were the younger ones, and we just the 3 of us just began a friendship and started hanging out with our kids and could relate to one another.
Yes.
And so we were friends before we started dating or anything, but we did meet in the grief support group.
Got you. So that just kind of like rings some bells in my head when I think of understanding relationships and communities, how much it can impact our thought process and our life in general. How much, even though a negative or hurtful thing has occurred, we can still find in relationships, in community, how much it could support us to be able to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's, I firmly believe that, God created us for relationship. Yes. And it's through times like we experienced, that's a very dramatic example, but very, I think, relevant to all the smaller challenges that we go through every day or every week, where having someone to come alongside us and speak truth, provide encouragement, support, and accountability through those times is really important.
Yes. I am very grateful for you guys opening up and sharing your story, because from your story, there's so many angles one can take to learn from how to deal with grief. And it's relatable. Because as you said, Jennifer, in the group you were in, it was just 3 of you around your age and then some 80-year-olds. Probably at that point, you were thinking, what would I learn from these 80-year-olds? But it still was a community of which you were still able to learn from. Right. And then meet other people your age group.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
and to your point, Michelle, those who are ahead of us in age can be really excellent mentors and provide a very different perspective.
Correct.
So I think we need both. We
Right.
need people in our own peer group. We need those who are gone ahead of us, and then we should also have people who we can mentor as well.
Correct.
And that's really a healthy social framework for
Yes.
good living.
Yes.
How it relates to grief, though, when you're so you're always looking for someone who's kind of endured and lost as you've lost. How did they survive it? Can you survive this? And so when like my husband died by suicide, so I sought out survivors of suicide bereavement groups, but the ones I ended up in either weren't meeting the night that I went, or they were moms who had lost a child, and I was a wife who'd lost a husband. So I was trying to find someone that I could really grow from, learn from, find some hope. And I didn't until I went to this grief support group. And so when you look at the older generation, and they're like my grandparents' age, and they and now my parents' age, because that was 20 years ago almost.
Yeah.
But they had been with that person for 40, 50 years, maybe longer, and they lost their companion. I mean, I would think they were grieving more so and in a different way, where mine was, I was married to about 13 years to my husband before he passed away. So I think just trying to find some like-minded people or who have experienced a similar loss and have had the will to go on.
Yes.
So, because in that moment, when I went to that grief support group and I met Mark and Laura, the other lady who was my age, I thought, I had lost all hope, but I had a little girl that I had to be there for. I had to keep getting out of bed. I had to keep going. I think that's why I had that little girl, right? That's why God put her in my life.
Right.
So, so I was definitely ministered to in the group and by everyone in the group. It was hard.
I believe you. I believe you because I have within the last 6 months have listened to hear of, for example, women losing their husbands. And I have spoken to 2 ladies in particular, and they're young. They're my age group, like 30s, 40s. So for you to lose a husband, a significant other, and you have a little one, an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old, thinking that what next to do, most of the times you have to have that hope.
Yes.
You really do have to have, and even if it's just the size of a mustard seed, right? Faith as a mustard seed.
Yes.
You really do need to have that hope. But as you said, being a part of a group, a community, learning from like-minded people, learning from people older than you, so who can mentor you, being able to understand from others how they relate to that type of grief helps. And sometimes, even if it's not that type of grief, you might learn other ways, right, Mark? So, for instance, for you, you were in groups with other guys, but then you end up in a group with ladies, and you still learn from these different grief groups, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the other things I did looking back that really helped me get through the grieving process, and I think I got through in very quick time, but that quick time was 5 years, and it was 5 years before I could go to my first wife's cemetery marker and visit it without just crying. And I felt that was a milestone. But what I did, I got a lot of sleep, the best sleep I could get. I, took care of my boys. I exercised, and I read the Bible and other related books on grieving. I did that every night for about a year, and I cried a lot. I think I cried every night for a year, very intense. But it helped me to process
Yes.
the loss.
Yes. That and just looking back at what you said, when you lost your dad, you never really grieved at that point. So it was a different experience for you this time because you were more open to learning, grieving, and the like, as well as for your family, you wanted to be there for your family, for them to learn how to grieve too, because I'm pretty sure your boys, they were grieving too. Or
Absolutely. Yep. And
so,
we all, and still are, I think, to some
yes.
degree. So my boys are adults now, and
Hmm.
they still have their own journey, um,
Yes.
including reflecting back on that time of loss. So
As well for you too, right, Jennifer? For your daughter.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I am I pray that they too will keep that hope. And I pray that from this situation, they can grow from it and help others too.
Yes.
This is you guys are doing right now to help families, because out of the fire, we now have this organization to help others.
Right.
Indie Blend is definitely something that has come about through the outcome of your grief, but it's something positive to help others learn how to deal with families that are different,
Right.
right? And I think that that has been really, I see it resonating in what you guys do. And as we talk a little bit more about this at the summit, I want to make sure that you guys share more about examples with regards to Indie Blend and how through your experiences, how you have been able to help others
yeah.
in your organization.
And Michelle, I can add, when we do our workshops, we tackle what we call the 8 most difficult aspects of step family living. So these are topics such as co-parenting, discipline in a step family, the stages of step family, yes, and
Grief too.
right, and priorities in a remarriage. What should the priorities be? And other topics as well. And each one takes about an hour to get through. But Jennifer and I speak for only 20 minutes. So we share personal stories that you've heard a little bit here in this podcast, our personal story, but we share our step family stories. Many of them focus on mistakes we made, but also some decisions that were turned out to be positive. So we share examples, and then we also bring in the best from all the resources that we are aware of. I used to be a research scientist in the pharmaceutical
wow.
industry. We do a lot of reading. I love going to conferences, and Jennifer and I are networked with several step family ministries, and we bring in the best of all that and package it in our workshops.
Great.
So we talk for 20 minutes, and then the remaining 40 minutes, we have our participants. They do a group discussion so they can share what's going on in their families and get examples of ideas that work for others, and then make notes so they can start building their action plan through that discussion.
Great.
So it's a very dynamic, kind of an intensive type workshop, but it covers ground in a short period of time.
That is amazing. And I could envision how engaging this workshop could be for the individuals, and really, get something out of it. Each person will get something out of that workshop at the end of the day or the weekend, as the case might be. Thank you so much for sharing this information. We definitely look forward to seeing you guys at the summit on May 18th. Jennifer, you're going to be on the panel. So we will, raise issues, talk a little bit about what's going on, especially from the woman's perspective, and, try to understand ways and give tips of how we can deal with grief. And you all have shared a lot of information just here today. And I do hope that people glean from the information you shared so that we can all know that there is hope and there is that opportunity to to move forward even though we grieve. And your time frame of grief differs everywhere. Everybody's an individual, along with in your individual in grief as well. So it's just learning who you are, how you deal with it. And yeah, I will talk a little bit more about it when we have the panel discussion, because for me, coming from a different culture, it's different as well. So it's, and I like listening and hearing how the different dynamics play for each culture, each ethnicity group. It differs. So I really look forward to talking with you and having this panel discussion on grief on May 18th. So come out, guys. I really want you all to come out and take in all the information you can get as much pamphlets, flyers from people, so that you have resources that you can go to learn from after this event. So it's not just about only on the event you're going to learn, you can learn after the event. Hence the reason why we're bringing on so many different people to help us live better. That's it. Really and truly, it's to help us live better in the long run. So thank you so much, Jennifer and Mark. Yes, Mark, I know it's a ladies' event, but I appreciate you. You did the right thing how many ever years before going to an event with all the ladies in it. I appreciate you and your openness to do that. You scored. that brief event in a good way. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for coming on FXWB New Beginnings podcast today, and we look forward to seeing Jennifer on the panel discussion on May 18th at the Resilient Wellbeing Summit, Queen Summit. We want you ladies there. This has been FXWB New Beginnings podcast with Michelle, and today, Jennifer and Mark. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.